This is a TalkStation original podcast.
On this week's episode of the Paperboys podcast, JJ and I interview Matt Dodge. He talks about his time with the New York Giants, how he transitioned from soccer to football, and his podcast, The Magician and the Jock. It all starts right now on the Paperboys podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Paperboys podcast. I'm JJ Smith.
And I'm Zack Nally.
We're reporters with the Carteret County News-Times. We are not joined in the studio today by our producer extraordinaire, Ross Caraway, but he'll make it sound better later on. We are joined in the studio today by the one and the only Matt Dodge.
Second place.
So back in the day, for all intents and purposes, I was the Matt Dodge bureau chief of the Carteret County News-Times.
That's true.
Yeah,
You kept
man.
me relevant.
Man.
Where have you been?
I would say, Matt's like, we used to talk
I need
all
you
the
around
time.
now.
It's a
Yeah.
very unrewarding job, I guess.
I would say from the time he was drafted, the training camp, the season, the following off season, the following training camp, I probably interviewed Matt 15, 20 times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you cover him in high school or?
No.
Okay.
I'm not that old.
I was
I'm
going
old,
to say,
but I'm
you
not that old.
graduated
Yes,
06, so I
standard.
think you started right around 07.
Yeah.
So you just missed
Yeah.
it.
Well, when I started, you had just wrapped up senior year, I think.
Okay.
What year did you grad? What year was your final year at ECU?
So I played 2007, 8, and 9.
Okay.
Then graduated. It was 2010 when I finally graduated.
Okay. So actually, I've been here a few years then.
Okay.
And so three things stand out about Matt from that time. Number one is Matt Dodge, who is an All-American in college. He's All-State in high school. He's drafted by the NFL. He plays in the NFL, starts as a rookie, not a huge football guy.
I'm loving the accolades. Like, just an all
That's
around
a
good
long
guy.
list. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, I was a punter.
You're right.
So,
But you didn't eat, drink, sleep, breathe it.
no.
Still don't probably, huh?
Not really.
Yeah, you're just not a huge football guy.
I mean, we're in ACC country, so growing up basketball
Right.
ruled like him from a fan perspective.
Uh-huh.
But
Might have been different if you were in Alabama or something, huh?
yeah, down there, I mean, it's a religion down
Yeah.
there for sure. But
Right.
no, I wasn't huge, and here pro sports weren't that big of a deal.
Right.
I mean, we had the Panthers; they had a good run, but no, it wasn't.
You can kind of take it or leave it, right?
Yeah, I liked it, but my role. So I played every sport growing up, and so like my favorite sport actually was roller hockey.
So we're going to talk about that at some point. The
Sports
Matt
world.
Dodge that I know,
Yeah.
that's that.
Dude,
That's
that was-
I still see you as that.
I'd be in the Hall of Fame in the NFL if I liked football as much as I loved roller hockey.
It was a great time, man.
I always fall in love with stuff that has no future. Sorry, babe. No, so every other sport, I was such, like I was in every play. You know, you're like the athlete, blah, blah, blah. With football, now I'm punting 4 or 5 times a game. It's a lot more mental, and I know, you know, what do they say? Punters are people too. But I can't sit here and pretend I have the same impact on a game or just sheer number of plays as like a linebacker or quarterback. So it was definitely different.
You're not the kind of fan who could rattle off Super Bowls and certain players and stats and stuff like that, are you?
No, it's funny. So we have an office outside of Philly, and I was up in Westchester, Pennsylvania, and I was talking with one of the guys in the office. He goes, Matt, this was probably 3 years after I'd been out of the league. He goes, who do you think's going to win the NFC East? Really? And I'm like, I have no idea.
Who's in it? Yeah.
who's in that division?
And he's like, dude, you were in the NFC East. And I'm like, that's how little I know about the NFL.
Take your word for it. Yeah.
So,
You pretty much did football because you were good at it.
yeah, I grew up playing soccer. I mean, like any player will tell you, the camaraderie is always the best.
Yeah.
That's what you miss the most. But it just happened to be the one sport that I excelled above everyone else, like comparatively. You know, I was a pretty good basketball player, pretty good, but I was good for here. But with kicking a football, I could go anywhere, and, you know, had one of the stronger legs.
Did someone grab you off the field and say you should come punt?
Well, so here, football and soccer at the same time
Sure.
in high school. And I was actually playing soccer my freshman year. And I've shared this story before, but anyway, so I'm 14. This is kind of like the middle of the summer, not really required to be there, but if you want to play, you got to be there. So I was kind of practicing with varsity. Well, I remember I got dropped off and I was like a minute late. I still remember my mom's Chevy Astra van dropping off. And I came out there, and the coach, I guess, wanted to make an example out of somebody and said, look, you're not taking this seriously. You need to leave. And I'm thinking, bro, I'm here. I don't have a cell phone.
Summer, dude. Like,
I got soccer cleats. And the football team happened to be practicing at the same time. And now in middle school, soccer and football are split up, so you can play both. So I just walked over there, figured I already had my cleats. Steve Chalk was out there with Steven, who was a senior at that time. And it worked out really, really well because his dad, Steve Chalk, ended up coaching me till I graduated, like well after his son had graduated. So it worked out pretty well. But, yeah, I kind of accidentally played football.
hey, some things happen for a reason.
I was going to say,
right?
talk about a sliding doors moment, right?
You can't when it's supposed to happen, you can't screw it up. So
Wow. Or would you say you were the exception, not the rule, at whatever level you were at? Most guys that you played with did love it, and you were just like, eh.
yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, football's a unique game. It's almost like a bureaucracy, like just the amount of plays, and it's very organized. It's a lot different than say like soccer or hockey, which is kind of more free flowing, and there's a set call on every play. So I mean, I guess guys love that, but I think a lot of guys love the like gladiator aspect of it. You get to hit people.
Football's kind of corporate, right?
What do you mean?
With like you said, the structure and these play callings,
yeah.
and everybody's in management, every little part of the team in the game, and
Every coach's butt is about that tight. I've never seen a tighter group of coaches, but it's a big deal.
Matt was finished fourth. All these professional teams have beat writers. They have beat writers from the newspapers, from the local television affiliates. The reporters are covering them, the radio stations, blogs and stuff. There's tons of media that follows all these professional sports teams. And at the end of the year, most of these professional sports teams have like a Media Guy of the Year award. And Matt finished fourth his rookie year, which is pretty good on a roster of like 60 people. And I told Matt, I was like, well, reason for that probably is, after the Philadelphia game, Deshaun Jackson, the Punter around the world, you stood there and took all the questions.
Right.
And Matt's response was,
I can't remember what was.
you said you didn't know any better.
Yeah, I really didn't. And there's not really. I mean, they come to your locker, so it's not like you could run.
Right.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I'm like, I need to face this head on. And at the same time, it wasn't as big a deal to me as I didn't realize how big of a deal it was
Right.
Until later on, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you see how many people care about it, and
Right.
But yeah, they were right at my locker, and I remember Lawrence Tynes was right next to me. And any Giants fans, he kicked him to 2 Super Bowls.
Right.
But I believe it was either him or Zack, who was our long snapper, told the reporters, like, hey, give him a few seconds. Like, the just happened. Oh,
Yeah.
excuse my language. The mess just happened. I'm like, yeah.
And I was like, no, Matt, you probably could have ducked out. And you were like, yeah, I really didn't realize
Well, I think
that.
about like being a Panthers fan. I think about Cam Newton leaving the Super Bowl post game presser. Where, to some degree, I guess if you have a cachet, you can say I'm out. But being a rookie, not knowing any different,
And a punter, too.
I'm gonna. If you're there, I have to answer these questions, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, there was no grand, like, oh, this is going to ingratiate me to all the fans.
I'm going to
or
win some
anything
media
like
award
this.
here.
Like,
it was strategic.
it was like I was in shock.
sure,
Yeah.
sure,
Like, it legitimately was kind of in shock.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah. They ask a question, you're like, does anybody else have any other questions? Like, I'm here for whatever.
Do anyone have any different questions?
Would anybody like to talk about anything else that happened in the
Does
game
anyone want
today?
to talk about the 28 points the defense gave up? Before? Is that part of this or? Whatever.
No, they're too big, man. I can't.
For sure.
I'm throwing those guys under the bus.
Even though Matt was playing in New York City, the biggest media market in the world,
Absolutely.
and even pre-Deshaun Jackson was written about. I mean, you can go to Google and you can find feature stories on Matt. Again, this is pre-Deshaun Jackson. He's got a feature story in the New York Times on the fact that he's the rookie punter. He's got a feature story in the Wall Street Journal. I mean, all these people. And yeah, I would call Matt on Tuesdays, and he'd pick up the phone.
Wow.
Never big-timed me. Talking to the News Times
I didn't
on
know this.
Tuesdays.
Just trying to help out the little
After
little guys out there.
almost every game. There might have been a few there here and there I missed, but I would call him on Tuesday. He'd pick,
Can I
he'd pick up.
Can I ask
He
why?
saw J.J. Smith and still picked up.
I'm just so curious. Like, your thought process at that point.
It was like my version of Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Okay, fair enough. Fair
Like
enough. We appreciate
consistent.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adopt a reporter.
Well, I think so you say that it didn't feel that way. Like I was,
Right.
I think it was more, I mean, because you know how reporters, writers, they can get one quote and write an entire article off of it. So it's not as if you're there the whole time, but I think a big reason why is I was replacing Jeff Fiegels, who had played for 22 years or something and retired officially retired at the training camp I was in. And so I really, ignorance is bliss. So fortunately I didn't know how big of a deal it was, but I heard that. I never really Googled myself or read anything just because, if it bleeds, it leads. So
You were better off.
Nobody's going to write an article. No one wants to read an article. The punter is doing remarkably well,
right,
and not having mental problems. So they want to hear that. So I never really read it, but for whatever reason, I've gotten media attention.
Well, you probably thought with me the way you did with after the Eagles game. You probably didn't know you weren't allowed not to pick up the phone and not talk to me, right?
Oh, I was screaming.
You probably thought I've got to talk to this guy. He's media.
Even after that, I didn't realize.
This freaking guy JJ call me all the time
every week,
gosh,
man.
Just rubbing
doesn't
it
even
in.
know I'm working out here, right? Like,
I appreciate it. It was you're really insulated when you're there, So it's not as if. Once you're in that facility, it's just you and your teammates, and you watching film, and the coaches do a really good job of. They didn't spend any more time on that play than other ones, but the media definitely did for sure.
Sure.
Which I don't blame them. I would have done.
And the Tuesday, like I said, it was mostly Tuesdays, and the Tuesday after the Philadelphia game, Deshaun Jackson, I call on a Tuesday, and I'm like, he's not going to pick up. Matt picks up. I'm like, hey, JJ, how you doing?
Wow, that's crazy.
I'm a little hungover. What do you want?
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times once you leave the county, and especially, I imagine, like you said, you're insulated, but I imagine it's a constant gig in terms of what's next on the agenda. It
is. I've likened it to, I know a lot of people military.
Sure, right.
It's very similar. No, we're not going overseas and fighting, but in terms of, we'd get an itinerary what the day is, and it'd be 7 to 7:03. Use the bathroom. 7:04.
Yeah, we don't want you thinking about other things.
There is freedom within that system, and there's a lot of former athletes, and I would imagine former military that are like, don't know what to do with my hands.
Right.
Yeah, to portray how much I did talk to Matt back in the day. If you go to our website and Google or search for Matt Dodge, 55 results come up. So he's been written about a few times in the News Times. Let's go back to the sports world thing, because that's Zack's. He's excited to talk about that. In an alternate universe, you grew up in Minnesota. Do you play ice hockey and nothing else?
Mighty Ducks was my favorite movie on the planet.
Generationally, that movie put something in us.
The Knuckle Puck, when that came out on the tennis court.
Yeah, man.
Gosh, it sounds crazy, like hockey at the beach, but Sports World was such a big part of growing up here. Now it's like TJ Maxx and Ross, but you had Sports World and Carteret lanes.
The lanes, yeah.
Like the cigarette smoke from the bowling alley was just like coming into the Sports World. But we lived for it, like all day skates on like days
I can still
off.
smell the Tombstone pizza when you walk in.
Tombstone pizza. Hoot, there it is would come on. Everybody getting like a shuffle line. I can remember it like it was yesterday. That's
legit.
There was a while there. And then all those guys we played, they ended up building an outdoor rink.
100%.
And
yeah.
It really was like a lifestyle.
I remember one of those stories I wrote. You were just talking about how much you loved it. You said you drove up to Apex every weekend?
Every weekend, yeah. We ended up playing for, it was called Dream Sports out of Apex, and for an hour practice. I mean, we obsessed with it. I would sleep. If you got new pads, you would like go to sleep in your pads. It was just, I was young. I didn't have much else going on, but man, I loved it.
You were dreaming of a life where you were an ice hockey player?
Yeah, my dad's from Michigan. It might have happened. It's funny. My son now is 5. We were in the neighborhood, and I still got my hockey bag, which it smells like death. It's the hockey pads. It's the worst smell. But I put the skates on, and I was like, got him on the bike. The skates just exploded. I had worn them in like they were so dry rotted, like 11 years. Yeah. So I guess hockey's over.
I was gonna ask you, like, rollerblading is kind of coming back a little bit, and I've been tempted to
break them out.
Just see. Well, and I don't have I had old Bowers that were already like at the end of their rope that my granddad had worn, and I would buy a new pair, but I don't know how it would feel.
Where is rollerblading coming back at?
It's online. Like kids,
that one dude with like the Jinko pants.
People are like in the city. They're bringing back skating and rollerblading. They're trying to bring the '90s are on their way back.
Nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's coming back. I'm waiting for Hillies to come back.
Sure,
Those things?
that was a thing.
The little things. All the cool kids had those. But yeah, sports world, man. Hockey was,
Your dad coached, right?
Yeah, he coached pretty much everything.
Yeah.
But I played. My sister played. My younger brother played. Man.
Yeah.
Going back in memory lane now.
When they built that outdoor facility, that was awesome.
Oh heck yeah.
It was all concrete.
Slick as it. Man, you'd fall. Yeah,
oh, it hurt.
Just don't fall.
Now, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't on the travel team with you guys, but my best friend Dustin Cessna, I think. Was out there with you.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
So
hockey was it, man.
So you grew up Peltier Creek.
Peltier Creek, yep.
One of five.
One of five. I was born at Carteret General, brought home to the same house my mom was brought home to when she was born at Carteret General. Her dad built that house.
Wow.
Y'all want to guess my birth weight?
15 pounds.
Okay.
That's crazy. You don't 10 is really high.
I wasn't born near a nuclear power plant.
He doesn't have kids. It's like, okay, like I'm a 10.
11 pounds, 8 ounces.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Born to be a football player.
Shaped like a Pez dispenser, man. It was all head. Like I was 2 before I could walk.
Just the bobble there.
Oh man, just like born on Pelletier Creek, going out in the boat, doing all that stuff, but been here forever.
Is it safe to say that the Dodge clan was a scrappy clan growing up?
Yeah, we were 6 years apart though.
Oh, okay.
So my older brother's 6 years older than me.
So not so much with the scrapping.
Yeah, I mean we get into it, but not too crazy. I don't know if you know the Martin boys, Nick, Chase, and Matt. They live two streets down.
That's
there.
where they're scrapping.
Yeah. They were tough, but no, we didn't scrap. But we all played sports, and I mean that was huge.
I was gonna say, did your older brother plays? I know younger brother was a quarterback, and
he was big soccer. He didn't play soccer was his thing. Okay. He surfed and skated and stuff. But all of us, my parents, I have one, and he feel like a taxi. It was constant dropping off. So, and
did Joanna play? I know she coached cross country for a little while. I don't know if she. Yeah, she ran or
she ran, played soccer.
Okay,
basketball. She did everything. She's a. I don't know if she's gonna listen. Biggest tomboy on the planet.
I was telling him before we came on, she was the epitome of cool. She graduated, I think, the same year as I did.
She's the epitome of cool?
Yeah, dude. She was, no, dude. You don't understand.
Oh, no.
You don't understand. She was
Set
cool.
the record straight.
She used to come to school with she wore like a green blazer. And she just didn't care.
Well, she had a bowl cut as a kid.
Okay.
Which was unfortunate.
That is not the epitome of cool.
And she had this Bugle Boy sweatshirt. And my older brother and I were like, "You're a girl. Stop wearing that."
Yeah.
She just kept wearing it. So finally I took it, and I had a drum set at the time. Undid my bass drum, put it in the pillow inside the bass drum, locked it up for 10 years. I'm like, I don't know what happened to that Bugle Boy.
It's gone forever.
And her hair just instantly started to flow. No more bowl cut. But yeah, no, Joanna, I'm a year and a half older than her. And she has a twin sister too. Complete opposites. So yeah, big family. Long story short, big family.
Yeah.
So your dad coached hockey, coached football. Was he like an athlete growing up and all that?
He was. Yeah, he coached. So he went to the Coast Guard Academy. And that's how he met my mom down here. He was at Fort Macon.
Okay.
But yeah, he coaches everything. He's coaching my son's soccer team now.
Oh wow, still at it.
Wow.
He's great at it.
Yeah. Do you think y'all would have been in sports the way you were growing up if it wouldn't have been for him and his influence?
Probably because it was like a lot of my friend group was playing sports. Because I have another sister, Lizzie, who didn't really play sports that much. It wasn't her interest. So it wasn't, my parents didn't push it on us. Being a parent now, I think our job is to kind of nurture our kids' nature. And my son happens to be very athletic, I don't have to talk him into going outside and hitting a baseball or something like that. But they definitely facilitated it. They wanted us out of the house, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think, and especially in the 90s, I think it was a thing. You started in sports at an early age, and you played a lot of different ones. You had to do your soccer, your t-ball.
I call it was athletic ADHD, man.
Yeah.
Right when one sport was over, I was ready for the next.
And we were lucky that we had roller hockey here as an option to go with all the other things.
That was the year-round sport.
Sure.
I loved that. But yeah.
Or if you wanted to get into surfing, that was out there as well.
Yeah, so we did a lot of that too. Yeah. Anything active, honestly. There was no smartphones or, look at us talking back in our day.
Look, it was a thing, man.
People respected their parents. No, we didn't.
You had a lot of opportunities to be mindful.
I'm glad I didn't come because I'm addicted to my phone. I'm glad I didn't come up with this because they are addicting. So we had to be outside, but everybody was outside. So
That's right.
It's the way to do it.
So you're talking about what Joanna was like in high school. It's hard to pin down Matt in high school. He was class president as freshman, class president as senior, but also voted class clown.
Yep.
Right.
So kind of this dichotomy.
Which some would argue the presidency that those kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And best figure too. Let's not forget.
Nice.
Oh, let's see an accolade. Let's get them all
Then
right.
I think I got 4 superlatives. Only one of them were like complimentary. The figure. Everything else was like most mischievous or class clown, loudest, like just kind of ready for me to graduate, I think.
Also academic achievement a couple years there. So a student wouldn't know it to look at you.
I mean, the full package. And I got perfect come over.
So did you kick in high school as well as punt?
Did all 3. That's what I thought I was going to do in college, was kick field goals.
You thought you were going to be a field goal
kicker? Yeah, because I was a soccer player. You could take a soccer player and teach him how to kick a field goal in 5 seconds. It's the same leg swing. Mm-hmm. Punting is actually a lot more difficult. But, yeah, I did all 3, kick off, and punt. And I was originally recruited to be a kicker. I remember at App State.
Okay.
They were like, hey, we score a lot of points.
Sure.
You come here and you have a chance to score. And I get there, and they're like, yep, you're punting. So,
and I didn't realize that until this year. I think there was some team where the kicker got hurt, and instead of going to the punter, they went to like the safety. Mm-hmm. And the guys on TV, they were like, yeah, not all punters can kick field goals. They were like, it's
a different leg swing.
2 very different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It always makes the kickers feel great when you see like Chad Ochocinco kicking in the game, like straight down the pipe effortlessly. And we're over there like, this is all we do. And we missed one. So.
Well, I think there's a video I saw recently of this kid in high school as an offensive lineman playing basketball, and he's in the post, and he instinctively, you've seen this maybe, where he instinctively blocks the guy in front of him, knocks him to the ground.
Like his drop step.
Instant flag or instant penalty, but it kicked in, and I wondered how much of that soccer background did you bring into what you did for football. But it sounds like punting went totally a different direction in terms of how.
I mean, it's similar, but punting, and I don't want to get too nerdy on here, but remember the old toe ball kickers? Mm-hmm. That's a lot closer to what punting of football is like.
Gotcha.
Punting, you're literally facing straight, kicking straight up and down, whereas soccer style, you're coming from the side, almost like you're closing a door with your leg. So the transition to kicking a football was much easier. But I actually coach kids now, and I tell them that, like, look, you can go to a camp, you're going to see 100 good kickers. There might be 5 or 6 good punters. Like, if you can punt, you can pretty much play anywhere at the next level.
So Matt's All-State at West Carteret. He gets invited to the Shrine Bowl. 1, 2, 3, 5 people in Carteret County history have been to the Shrine Bowl.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow.
You're 1 of 5. Can you guess any of the other ones you think?
Vaughn Johnson, maybe?
No Vaughn Johnson.
Really?
Which I don't understand. And no LeVar Fisher.
Those are the only 2 other ones I know.
So how those guys weren't invited to the Shrine Bowl?
Now I know that Deshaun was one of
Johnson,
them recently.
East Carteret.
Yeah.
That was recent.
Yeah.
Oh, there have been some recent ones.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one that's recent.
CJ Struck.
Okay. There you go.
Oh, yeah, CJ did.
Yeah.
Shout out, CJ.
Antoine McNeil, 2005, East Carteret.
McNeil, that does sound like a East Carteret last name.
Wow, that's like 3 kids within that 06, 05, 06,
Yeah,
07.
it's Matt in 04, McNeil 05, and then CJ's 2010, Deshaun Johnson 2017. Before Matt, and this is my research, I might have it wrong. Before Matt, the previous one was 1978.
Okay.
Tim Lee from West Carteret.
I'll take your word for it.
I don't know
Tim,
why Vaughn Johnson.
How you doing, Tim? Give us a shout out.
So, yeah, you're in select company there. So who were you looking at besides App State? Anybody else? Was it in the running, or were they the runaway favorite?
Well, I was originally going to go to East Carolina.
Okay.
And didn't really get any D1 offers out of high school.
Was that disappointing?
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising, especially going and I did some stuff before my senior year, got like highly ranked, and you start to assume like, hey, I'm going to get it. My problem was the year before I went to college, the most D1 scholarships were given to kickers and punters, so there just wasn't any left.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's not like a team's they're going to sign a quarterback pretty much every year. You know, there's certain positions you can't have too many on the roster. But I was originally going to go to East Carolina. Last second, changed my mind, went to App. Had a chance to start as a true freshman, won a national championship, and then ended up transferring back to East Carolina. Had to sit out a year, and
No transfer portal then.
no, when you transfer down divisions, you didn't have to sit up,
Right.
but if you equal or above, but it worked out really well because they had a all-conference punter there, Ryan Doherty, so I wouldn't have played those 2 years anyway. So by the time I walked on, I got to start right away.
I guess a question I've always had, and I guess I know the answer, but I'm still, you're in Boone, which is a beautiful place to live. You're starting as a freshman.
Yep.
You win a national championship, and then you're like, no, I'm going to go to ECU.
Well, first of all, it was a big culture shock. I mean, 6 hours away. You're in the mountains, not the beach. I mean, there's the whole gambit in North Carolina. But no, I loved it there. I didn't end up getting offered a scholarship. They were still Division I AA at that time.
Okay.
Which means I think they have like 20 less scholarships. So I wasn't offered that scholarship, and I just wanted to come back, man. I wanted to. There was another punter that was coming in that I would probably had to compete with, and there wasn't. You know, I started as a true freshman, but it wasn't like I wasn't All-American, so I could have easily been beaten out. And so there were other factors, and just wanted to get on back home. And it was so freaking cold, man.
You weren't about that life.
The wind, it is insanely cold, which for a punter, it's not good, man.
Little more research. Matt is one of 4 Carteret County athletes to win a national championship in college. Billy Widgeon at Atlantic Christian, now known as Barton.
Okay.
Basketball. TJ Corman,
Yep.
teammate of yours.
Yep. He won 3.
Do you know the other one, Zach Nally?
I only do because I'm looking at the list right now.
And Garrett Bridgewater, a Croatan soccer player who went on to win a national championship
Did
at
App
Wingate.
Did App not win the following year? App State national championship.
They won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So yours the first one?
First one,
Well,
yeah.
then BJ.
I don't think BJ was there for any of them.
Really?
Yeah, I think he missed out.
Okay.
I might be wrong about that.
Because he graduated in 06.
Might have been a red shirt while I was there.
Okay.
He was definitely part of the program.
Okay, but not on the team. I don't think.
Maybe not.
I might have that wrong.
Yeah, we'll have to
BJ
check
might
that out.
BJ might be calling me out on
Shots
that.
fired.
We have to have a phone call with, next
Because you're like,
podcast.
no, man, I was there for all those.
I
Yeah.
think he was.
Okay.
Either way, though, obviously
A
being
select-
part of those App State run, we've got a couple people here.
Yeah,
who were,
select list of people. It's
Yeah,
not easy to
yeah.
win a national championship in college.
It's not easy to win a game. You know, it's like,
ask ECU this last fall.
yeah, no, especially in the league, we had a saying like, hey, they're paid to play too.
Right.
So like just every level you go up, it's, you know, everybody in college was the best player on their high school team. Everybody in pros was the best player on their college team. It's just top of the top.
So Matt goes to ECU. He's an All-American. He's 40 career games. It's like 9,000 yards on 200-some punts. It's like a 43.5 average. When he left, he was second in all-time punting charts. And then one of my favorite stories of yours was when you got drafted. I would imagine if you were to put together a top 10 list of the top 10 most exciting days in your life, I would imagine the day you got drafted would make the cut.
It was up there. It changes your life.
Yeah.
Instantly. Because, I mean, you're thinking about it so long, but just making it official, yeah, it was. But I was drafted in the 7th round, so there was no camera crew, and in fact, we were looking at it over on the computer. My dad was just refreshing Yahoo Sports, and that's
Even that alone right there
It's a
shows you how long ago
painstaking
this
way.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there was TV. We just never had cable growing up. And my buddy was actually getting married in Salter Path, and I was just tired of looking there. You know, the teams I thought I had a chance to go to had taken someone else. So I'm like, dude, I think I'm gonna go. It was getting close to time to go to the wedding. I go, Dad, I'm gonna take off and go to the wedding. He goes, no, son, I think you need to stay. I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here and watch you hit refresh over and over and over again. It's getting crazy. And I'm coming over the bridge, the Atlantic Beach Bridge, and I have a call, and it's from a New Jersey number, and I'm like, well, I don't know anybody from New Jersey, so I ignored it. I didn't answer it. And because you think New York, I didn't realize New York was in New Jersey, and they called again.
Meadowlands, right?
Yeah,
Rutherford.
Rutherford.
Yeah.
And then I got the call came again. I'm like, damn,
They're like, you better answer this. We know you're sitting
who
there.
have I ticked off from New Jersey? And I picked it up, and it was them saying,
Wow.
Hey, is this Matt Dodge? Yep. Okay, hold on. Here's Coach Coughlin. I'm like, Tom Coughlin? He goes, hey, Matt, we're going to go ahead and take you with this next pick. Look forward to seeing you at rookie minicamp. Talk to so-and-so to get your flight instructions or whatever. It happened that quick.
So you hang up the phone. Who's the first person you call?
Probably my mom and dad.
Yeah.
They're sitting right there.
I mean, you're still on the road. You instantly.
As soon as I got on the bottom of the bridge, I just you.
Okay, so you turned around.
Oh, he came right back.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was a hot ticket at that wedding later on.
Sure.
Man.
Oh,
Because the news it's public news and all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like form a line, please. Form a line. Sorry, buddy. I don't think it worked out. Anyways, that marriage says.
sorry, bride and groom, but I'm the headliner here
I
now.
don't think that marriage or that NFL career worked out. So. But we had that night, baby.
That's right.
Your phone was blowing. Was that pre-texting days or was that texting days?
No, you could text. Yeah. It wasn't
After 9? No.
No, that's the calls. It wasn't texting was where you'd have to hit like
The
111 222 just to get the different letters.
Right.
I mean, it looked like you typed a novel and it's like, what's up? But yeah, I got a lot of text. I remember I got something like 2,000 or 3,000 Facebook friend things.
Oh, wow.
Like, instantly. Like they just start hitting.
I was going to say, shame there wasn't like Instagram then where you could
I don't
really
know.
bank
It
on
may
that.
have been, I don't know if Instagram had
Oh
started
no,
yet.
Instagram wasn't there yet.
I know it was not soon after.
This was still the Facebook days of like Matt is feeling thirsty, like very early days.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Hot or Not was the top app. I think still like this was.
Yeah, Facebook. Gosh,
way
man.
back.
Facebook. I remember being an app when Facebook kind of you had to have
You had to be a college student. Absolutely.
We got so mad when the high schoolers got it. Then my grandmother got it. I'm like, well, this is not.
It
It's
all
not
went
cool
downhill.
anymore.
No.
It used to be cool. Oh man, Facebook.
And you weren't expecting to get drafted by the Giants, right? Because they had Jeff Figgles, who'd been with them since the dawn of the National Football League.
And I hadn't even talked to him.
Right. I remember the Patriots was the team you thought you were going to, right?
Either the Patriots or it's been so long. Maybe the Jaguars or there was a couple of those teams, but Patriots took Zoltan Mesko out of Michigan, who I played against in the Senior Bowl.
Right.
And the Buccaneers took Brent Bowden from Virginia.
And that was it. You three were the only punters.
Yeah. I thought, I was like, well, what's next? I wasn't really bitter, but I'd felt like I was playing with house money anyways, making it to that point. So they called it changed everything. New York and Dallas are like two nationwide teams.
Right.
It's not just regional fan bases.
And you go up there and you think, well, I'll just compete with Jeff or whatever. And then what was it, a couple of days later?
Yeah.
He retires.
Yeah.
Yeah. 22 years I think he'd been with them.
Which the day he retired, so that you do pranks for the rookies that you get, it's not hazing, it's just part of it. And so we're at University of Albany or Albany, I can't remember how you say it, but that's where the training camp is, sitting in the dorms or whatever. And I wake up, I look in the mirror, and I've got purple, like my skin's been dyed.
Right.
It wasn't like marker. It was not coming off.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, what the heck is this? So you do what you should do, like WebMD. What disease can you get in a dorm?
Woke up with purple face.
It was just splotchy and was growing. And I walk into the locker room after, and you hear one of the linemen's like, "Damn kicker!" And he had got the stuff they put in the bag when you rob a bank and it shoots the ink or whatever.
Wow, yeah.
He got the powder.
Okay.
From somebody in the NYPD, sprinkled it in my bed. And
so that everywhere you
when you perspire, it just. So I tell that story to say that was the next day. Fiegels said he's retiring, so every microphone was in my face, and I look like I don't even know what I look like, man. Tie-dye skin. So
I'll have to go look up that interview.
I'll have to find, but that's ruined everything. All my clothes.
Yeah.
And now you're pretty much set up to be the starting punter as a rookie in New York.
Yeah.
When you mentioned culture shock earlier, but going to Boone, like, got to imagine coming from Morehead City to New York was different. Obviously you're not in New York, but I mean you are. You're right next to it. I mean, and
it's different. I mean, I guess because when I went to Boone, all I knew was Carteret County. I didn't know anybody. Like I just learned Jesus wasn't from Carteret County. Like, that took me a while to get over. But you know, in college, at least I got to meet people from the Northeast. There's a lot of, but in terms of the city, it's completely different. I didn't spend much time in Manhattan. I lived in Hoboken, which was like the funnest town in the world. It's like college 2.0.
Gotcha.
There's so many, you know, it's a square mile. Remember the show Cake Boss? That was out of Hoboken.
Okay.
It's a 10-minute train ride to the city, but the city it's different, man. It was not that was not my speed.
Yeah.
And Matt's rookie year was a lot of rookie years is one game you killed it, and the next game coaches wanted to kill you.
Up and down, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and New York's a really forgiving fan base. Right?
That's the thing. They let
and
you.
media.
They take their time with you.
Yeah.
No. Well, at the time, a lot of people didn't realize I had the highest average in Giants history that year. So I had a high average. I always had a strong leg.
The gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was different because you're in the Northeast. It's cold as heck, very, very windy. And then we'd play a game down south, or we'd play a game in a dome, and it'd make a huge difference.
Sure.
Like I want to say I averaged close to 50 yards a punt in domes because we'd have punters from, you know, San Diego or just warmer climates like that come up there and struggle mightily because the wind was so rough. But not making excuses, but anyone who's kicked in the Meadowlands, they know. Same thing with kicking in Chicago. So yeah, it was up and down. I mean, that first year you're trying not to get cut, and like for the first time you're worried about getting cut.
Yeah.
In college you're not. You're the man.
You're all American at ECU.
Like,
I mean,
you're about as secure as you can be, and then there, even though I signed a 4-year contract, the only thing that was guaranteed was my signing bonus, and that team. They are one of those teams that want to win every year. It's not like, I know there was a punter who played out in what's his name? Played out in San Francisco. He played for a long. Andy Lee.
Yeah, he was amazing.
He didn't average 40 yards his first 3 years in the league.
Wow, and then he was Pro Bowler.
Think of that.
On the regular.
If he got to play, he didn't average 40.
Wow.
There was no rush at that point for that.
It's just
franchise.
It's a different. Yeah.
Or if you'd
not
gone to
under the
Jacksonville, there maybe not have been as much pressure.
Yeah,
there.
I mean, could I still been cut? Sure, but at least the pressure you would have time to develop. There's no red shirting in the pros.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing that now with quarterbacks like that are taken. They're expected to start. You don't have an Aaron Rodgers who can sit under a Brett Favre.
Or Jordan Love who sat for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that's
rare.
That's
Yeah.
ideal.
Yeah.
But
Thrown to the wolves usually.
yeah, you're either starting. I mean, they're not keeping two punters on an NFL team. So it was up and down, but I mean, that was kind of my college career was kind of like that
Really?
too.
I mentioned earlier, being the Matt Dodge bureau chief and the things that stood out. The Deshaun Jackson game is a great story. It wasn't a great night for you, but it's a great story. And you come home essentially that night, and talking about sliding doors moments, talking about youth soccer and going to football.
Right.
In a different world where you come home and there's nobody there waiting for you, maybe what does that night look like compared to what it was where you had Donnie Griggs and Matt Bartz from your church, you had family?
Yeah, it's so I'm in New York, which that's a long way away from North Carolina. Like, so it's not as if I had people coming every game, and but that game so happened that all right. So what happened on the field happened, and I come out and for whatever reason, God's sovereignty, call it what you want. The pastor and one of the leaders in the church just happened to be there, and they were like, "Man, that was an amazing game." I'm like, "Bro, do you even watch football?" They're like, "Not really."
The game itself, right? Yeah.
Just go to the NFL
It was
game in
just
New
like how
York.
cool it was.
Comeback.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're hanging out afterwards. They came to my house. My parents were all there because this was around Christmas time.
Uh-huh.
And So I guess I didn't have a chance to do anything destructive. If I was alone, I could, not anything suicidal or whatever.
Spiraled for sure.
You
might have imbibed that night heavily.
Man, yeah, because I mean, I got home and I immediately started packing my stuff. I'm getting cut. Like this, there's no way you make it out of this.
That's it.
And you just have that like, what just happened energy, you know? But they were there. I mean, we had pizza, had gifts, and you know, I'm not gonna lie, my mind was obviously on what was happening, but it was a good distraction. You know, boredom or being solitary at that moment would not have been good. That it would have been destructive. But yeah, having them there, I mean, that at the time it might have been kind of annoying. I just wanted to go put my head, dig a hole, put my head in it.
But it was healthy for sure.
Oh man, that was a wild night. Yeah, it was very wild. I still haven't watched that play.
You still have to this day have never watched the replay,
other than what we watched in film after the game. Yeah, I know it happened.
Well,
I had a good seat. I know.
I don't need to be reminded.
No.
Yeah,
that would be like going back and watching a surgery you had or something all the time, right? Nobody wants
you
to
see
do
where
that.
he flatlines here. There you go. Like,
that's the moment.
Yeah.
Just for context, if somebody has never, that was Matt punts to Deshaun Jackson of the Philadelphia
Well, let's back
Eagles.
up and let's say that they were winning 31-10.
They were up 20 something, I think.
28, I think.
Yeah.
It was 28-point lead.
They rattled off,
28 straight in the fourth quarter.
And they're playing for a playoff spot for the division championship. There's a few seconds left. Matt punts it. It's supposed to go out of bounds. It's a bad snap. It's
like 40
it's
seconds
rush.
or 18 seconds left.
You had avoided Deshaun Jackson the whole game.
Long story short, I had one job and I did not do it.
Supposed to kick it to the guy in the third row, right?
If I could go back,
and
it was set up because we were in our territory, so I couldn't just hit it straight out of bounds because they'd get it
like midfield, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you could have kicked a 10-yarder.
That's right.
Right.
Or
you have to do your job,
or like run around and then take a knee and then go to play overtime.
Right.
They would have had like a 40-yard field goal. So,
right. Got to get it down the field.
Get it at least on the other side of the 50, out of bounds. That way, they can maybe try a Hail Mary, but those
and then it takes the bounce where he kind of drops it.
So Deshaun Jackson returns it. It's the only walk-off punt return in NFL history.
How many in Carteret County have had that?
That's like I'm on the Shrine Bomb, the National Champions.
I'm waiting for somebody to join that list. Jeez.
Well, this was a time too. Deshaun and Devin Hester. This was a time when returns were a big.
They keep you up at night.
I don't think that happens quite often.
It doesn't feel like you see as many returns these days
No.
as you did back then.
The punters are so much better now. It's insane. You look at the averages now compared to when I was in.
So like I said, Matt picks up the phone that Tuesday, whereas he's one of the most famous people on the planet. That ESPN, his photo is like on ESPN.com that night.
Which for a punter is...
I was more than famous. I was infamous.
Yeah. I looked it up. I did the research. He was the 11th most searched name on Google that Sunday night. I mean, big time.
And it wasn't for them trying to send me well wishes.
Well, it's one of those positions where you don't notice them until you do, right?
You're on an island. Yeah. You want to... It was pretty crazy.
And I'd be curious to go back in time, and obviously this will take a ton of research, so we don't have the ability. AI, maybe one day you could do this for us, to go back and see how many times a punter has been in that kind of position, with that kind of scenario where you need to kill regulation with this punt so that we can get to overtime and see what happens next.
So I'll watch football, and I can see. I'm obviously watching it as a former punter, so I can see like how much time is left in a half.
Right.
And where if you're like a just a casual fan, you'll see, hey, this is just a punt. But I know, like, man, his heels are on his 5-yard line. Even though it doesn't seem like it, he's got to get off a good punt here. This could change the momentum of the game. So I'll start to get like you could feel that when you start to get nervous, your feet feel like they're in concrete. That's kind of how it feels. So I can certainly empathize with those different positions, but I mean, it's maybe nothing quite as drastic as mine. Last play of the game. There's obviously been a lot of last-second field goals. That's where people are more.
But punting, right?
Punting, it's not quite as much because if the play is successful, it just goes to overtime. You know what I'm saying? It's you can't score on a punt.
Right.
Really, you can just screw up pretty much. That'll get remembered.
And now I feel like there's so many more with the analytics and stuff. They go for it on fourth down so much more now. If it's
Right,
4th and
right,
2, even
right.
4th and 3, anywhere around midfield. I feel like they're saying we're going to get this rather than punting it and letting you.
Or you're gonna dance around and try to
Yeah.
get it, maybe but because the field position they were in, like you said, if you turned it over on downs, the field goal chance of coming to the other end was a threat.
Yeah, I mean, punting. It's we always pride ourselves on flipping the field, you know. And if you got a strong leg, that you can be backed up and hit it over the return man's head, and that could be a change of 80 yards of
That's right.
a field position. But it's one of the most exciting plays because it's organized chaos.
Well, one of the most ironic things is prior to that kick, Matt's probably maybe having the best game of his NFL career.
Yeah, maybe not average wise, but in terms of like the ball's going where I want it to go. The
You
only time
pinned them
it's-
back twice.
And in the
Yeah.
third quarter, he put him at the 8 and
Yeah.
the 18,
Yeah.
and then in the fourth, he put him at the 12.
yeah,
Right.
that's-
So
Yeah.
at that point, you're probably feeling pretty good that night, right?
It felt great. I remember first half, I was like doing crank that soldier boy on the sideline. That was a tale of two halves for sure. But it just takes one, you know. Pinning him deep, to me, that's the easiest thing to do. You just do an Aussie style punt, and they're going to fair catch it. They're at a short field. Being back in your own with that at that time of game, he's going to return it. I'd have to put 6 seconds of hang time for him to fair catch it. He was going to return that.
There's a lot more goes into punting. I think the average fan probably realizes, like you said, you had one of the strongest legs in the NFL that year. You were top 10 in the league in gross, but the directional, the hang time, it's like a three-pronged thing you have to do, right?
Yeah, you got location, distance, and hang time. So a perfect punt is if we call it punt right, maybe I hit it 50 yards, 5 seconds of hang time. So for anybody listening, if you want to nerd out on punting, there's a big thing about the hang matching the distance.
Oh, okay.
So if you hit it 40 yards, you want to have at least 4 seconds of hang time. 45, you want to have 4.5 seconds of hang time. That's just so that the cover guys can get down there at a time. So times in my career I'd get in trouble is I'd hit, we call them a piss missile, where you just hit, it'd be kind of more like a line drive. And maybe I hit a 65-yard punt, but it only has 4.8 seconds of hang time. Well, it's a long punt, but then you got 20 yards between the return man and the cover guys, and that's advantage return man all day. So there are different things, but now, punters now are just, this guy's averaging 50. It's insane.
You mentioned the difference, and there's certain plays that happen in sports, like a certain catch, like the tuck rule with the Super Bowl with Justin Tuck, where there's a catch that teaches you kind of as a public teaching moment for understanding how defensive pass interference works and stuff. I think a lot of times that play was a sort of a moment where people realized that there was a distinction, that punting wasn't just, there was directional, there was power. I think there was definitely like a better understanding of the position.
Not just a let it rip.
Right.
And that's how the NFL was for a while. Like just
absolutely.
punt it right down. It was like a long drive competition. But then the return men just got so good that, and the punters got so good too. Where you could do more directional, and that's why we're maybe not seeing as many returns now. Like the punters are getting so much better. And there's not as much emphasis on the kick return game now. Most kickoffs are touchbacks. They moved it back,
Right.
Or moved it up. It's across the board. It's gotten a lot better.
And talk about night and day. You replaced Figgles, who again
All
there
directional.
he was no power.
It was John Rocker replacing Tom Glavine.
It was John Daly replacing whoever doesn't have a long drive
Jim
on the golf tour.
yeah. That was tough because
Yeah.
I was a big ball hitter, and they're like, we want it 40 yards out of bounds. I'm like, what? That's telling John Rocker, I want you to throw it 89 on the corners.
Yeah.
He's like, I just throw it as hard as I can.
You're
You get 98.
You're asking me to be Greg Maddox. I ain't him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but that's where the whole league is going to, and I coach kids now on the side, and I talk to them about if you can go directional, because you can pretty much take away half the field, and the sideline's like another tackler, so that's why pinning them near the sideline is so important.
The next year they bring in Steve Weatherford,
Yep,
who is Matt Dodge 2.0 pretty much. Bodybuilders, weightlifters.
beat me in everything.
And you guys got along pretty well, right?
Oh yeah. Remember
Yeah.
earlier I said I don't know to guess how much I weighed. I don't know if we did it on the air, but that's my trump card. How much I weighed when I was born. And I'm like, Steve, that's the only thing I thought I had on Steve. I'm like, how much did you weigh? He's like 11, 13. I'm like, I knew at that moment I was getting cut from the New York Giants.
He even had you beat there.
He beat me at everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Steve was, it was a great training camp, man.
Y'all were going toe to toe, right?
I think I had the second highest average in the preseason. The problem was Steve had the number one highest average. It was by like 0.2 yards apart or something like that. So it was very, very close. He was definitely better directional, and he was a much better holder, which that was not my forte.
That kind of goes with the punting.
You got to. And I
Gotta be a
I
holder
never
on
held in
kickoffs.
college. I wish, looking back, I should have.
Sure.
I was always the backup kicker, though, so holding was critical.
Well, I remember it was so tight because I was dealing with media members of New York. I needed, I could call you and get quotes. That was no problem, but I needed photos. So I was dealing with the Newark Star Ledger, the sports editor there. He was great, and he would send photos, and I was like emailing back and forth, who do you think is going to win? And he was like, he's like, the beat writers, we just don't know. We were like, maybe Weatherford because they gave him the contract. He's more of a pro. He's more polished and stuff. He was like, but it's pretty much, Nick, right there.
It was very, very close. But, I mean, I kind of, in my head, I wasn't bitter. I was like, he beat me.
Okay.
Maybe we were, if all things were equal, just his ability to hold.
Push
over the edge.
Yeah.
For sure. No doubt about
So the
it.
Giants go from not making the playoffs, talks about Tom Coughlin getting fired, to the next year, this crazy Super Bowl run.
Winning the Super Bowl.
And he has a great year.
Oh, he does.
And him and Andy Lee have like an epic punting battle in the NFC Championship game. Both of them like off the charts punting games.
And he had a great hold for the game-winning field goal to go to the Super Bowl. If you go on YouTube, you can see him mouthing, "We're going to the Super Bowl," like
that.
says that on live TV. But he actually, it was a low snap. He got it down. So I mean, that I'm like, hey, you should have been there.
Was that the year the Patriots were undefeated, or was that the first time the Giants played them? I can't remember.
The first time was the undefeated year.
Okay, the second year. And both times the Giants didn't really have great regular seasons. They just caught fire in the playoffs.
That's what it takes.
Playoff Eli.
It was like Flacco with the Ravens that one year.
Yeah,
where
just
kind of
caught fire, man.
Yeah. Who y'all think's going to win this
So
year?
you're watching the Super Bowl. That's the other great story that I remember about Matt.
Oh, yeah.
The next day,
I drove to Greenville.
drove to Greenville?
I'm going to make it back. I didn't, but it was weird because they were all my friends on TV, like the entire team.
While you're watching friends win the Super Bowl.
It was like that's the first thing in my life I've been early to. It was the Super Bowl. It was a year early. But yeah, I wanted to get back in at that point.
And you're kicking the next day. You're punting on the ECU field.
Yep.
Saturday morning.
It's
Monday morning.
a little rash. I mean, it was freezing
For sure.
but
You were fired up though, huh?
yeah, I mean, looking back, if I really wanted to make it back, I would never have come back here. I would have gone, somewhere, a facility, and trained
Full time.
because I got here and it's got all my friends, playing golf. I figured it was going to happen pretty quickly, and then when it didn't, you're like, oh man, I need to figure out something else.
And you tried out for what, 7 teams?
No, that year I went on like 14 or 15 workouts
wow.
every week. They would call me in.
Jeez.
Wow.
Usually on like whatever the off day was, like a Tuesday or something, and then it just never got.
Once you're out, it's hard to get back in, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And once you're there, I mean, you got 15 minutes. You got to punt.
Right.
I mean,
very little time to.
It's sped up. Which, if I could go back now, I would have just. All right, you need to figure out how to get warm and get ready much quicker.
Show up ready.
Versus when you're on the team, you're out there 45 minutes stretching, taking your time, easing into it. There, you got the head coach, the GM, they're watching, they're like, show us what you got. And I'm like, still got my tennis shoes on. So
Right.
it was a different world.
I remember Houston, you thought that was Tuck beat you out. And because he had Justin, he had had Turk, I mean. He had been there before and punted for them.
Oh, Turk?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, man, it's been so long, I can't remember.
And they picked him, and you thought the familiarity made a big difference. But you said he had great words of encouragement for you. You said, matter of fact, about that time, you were like, I might be ready to stop doing this. He was like, no, man, keep at it.
Yeah, I had I always had the talent to it, but,
Yeah.
you can't negotiate desire. So if you don't desire to do it, that talent can almost be like a burden at the same time because that's what you're expected to do. I just really didn't want to. Didn't know it. And people couldn't understand that because they're like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. But they're like, are you an idiot? Like, financially speaking, there's nothing more profitable you could do than make it back to the league. Right. But you get there, you got to realize you got to love it. That's all you do.
Grind, I'm sure.
And you didn't love it.
I was indifferent towards it.
Yeah.
That's right.
You did it because you were good at it.
I just happened to be good at it.
Yeah. And so after that year of trying out, were you like, I'm not doing that anymore?
Yeah, life goes on. I was working out. I thought I wanted to be in like the fitness industry. I was doing some different bodybuilding shows and stuff, which that was a step down from the no prize money. But yeah, it's crazy. This life starts to speed up, and before you know it, you're out of the league for 2 years and 3 years. And every year you're out, there's a whole batch of college punters that just got done playing who have fresh film, not to mention all the other free agents, and you kind of see the writing on the wall.
And how long was it before you found the life that you have now?
I'm still trying to figure things out now, man. It feels like it was a long time ago, and it feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
Especially since I still get recognized now from that one. I learn every day how big the NFL is and how big the New York Giants are. But yeah, I always lived with the fear that I never wanted the biggest year of my life to be the first year after college. So I'm trying to make a dent somewhere else.
Not to make it the peak there. Yeah, for sure.
Talking about peaking early.
And you were was it construction management? Was that your major at ECU?
Construction management.
What did you think you were going to do with that?
Play in the NFL. My dad was construction, so I just picked it. Minor in business, so you could kind of go on anywhere.
Okay.
No.
And now you're a financial analyst, is that right?
Yeah, financial advising,
How long have you been doing that?
6-7 years, something, or 8 years, something
Was
like that.
that something you thought you would get into
I
eventually?
had no idea.
Oh, wow. So how'd you fall into that?
Just, I don't even know. Oh, yeah. So my advisor, the guy who helped me when I was in New York, when I was done, he's like, hey, man, I think you'd probably enjoy this field. And then slowly but surely just kind of ended up where I'm at now.
And enjoy it?
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Have you always been a numbers guy?
Sometimes. I'm definitely more of a creative, so I love creating content too. Like I have YouTube channel that I do with a buddy of mine called Magician and the Jock, and we did a lot of interviews like this, but now we're doing more like reaction videos.
I was going to say, you all kind of pivoted, right?
Yeah, any kind of creative endeavor, man. I love it.
Yeah, I saw the Cat Williams reaction video.
Yeah, man. Get you some white friends.
Yeah.
Man, things blowing up.
How long have you been on the YouTube thing?
About 2 years now.
Okay. And was that just to scratch a creative outlet kind of a thing?
I always wanted to do it. I had done a lot of podcasts just as a guest. My buddy Billy, the magician, we were just talking. I said, dude, we need to record some of these. Kind of like how you guys said you wanted to start.
Just go ahead and do it, yeah.
And then eventually you're like, we need to get some guests because we're running out of stuff to say, just to ourselves. So then we started and just loved learning about it.
Yeah.
That's Billy Collins, you said?
Mm-hmm.
How'd you and him get together?
My brother dated his daughter back in high school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Didn't work out.
Got you a YouTube partner.
Or it worked out.
Yeah, for sure.
And he already had a channel, so.
It's Magician and the Jock. Billy is the magician.
Yep.
You're the jock. Mm-hmm. Got 7,000 subscribers.
Yep.
Like you said, you were kind of an interview thing. You and him together kind of pivoted to reaction videos. And since then, y'all have really kind of caught fire, huh?
When we had 600 subs 4 months ago, when we switched to the reactions, and it's gone from 600 to over 7,000.
Wow.
You try to put all this time and effort into like research and questions, and then it just sitting in front of something and just reacting.
And not everybody can do it. And
right.
It's whatever it's like a fisherman trying out different bait.
Right.
It's like, well, this one works.
Okay.
Why not?
Absolutely.
So we just kind of did it. We were running out of steam doing the interviews, and then it's like, hey, these are actually doing really well.
Yeah.
So they got 24 videos now that have been seen over 10,000 times. They got 8 videos that have been seen over 50,000 times. And then the big viral one is 336,000 times.
Woo! Get you some white friends. Cat
Williams.
One? Yeah, it's Cat Williams. So yeah, it talks about the timing because the Cat Williams Club Shay Shay.
Yeah.
Like he's blowing up, and now I try to say Cat Williams as many times as I can. Hopefully the algorithm picks it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird. For whatever reason, people like watching 2 white dudes react to black comics. It's just those are the videos that take off. So I'm not going to argue with him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, and where do y'all record this at?
Right in my office, I converted a conference room into a studio.
Okay.
So, yeah, man.
And just going to keep going with this as long as you can keep doing it.
Yeah, man, I love it.
Yeah.
As long as it's fun. If it's not fun, then I'm kidding.
Financial advisor by day, YouTuber by night.
All around great guy.
Well, Matt, man, it was always great talking to you back then. It's been great talking to you today, and thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, guys.